take a second to listen to this important 30-second clip about how the stock market could be trading this week and why this is going to be especially important for Palantir Technologies because earnings is coming soon.
Sentiment changing in this period, especially as we have a very full week ahead, including what we'll hear from the Fed this week.
It really is. And so on our investment committee here at Annex, we are kind of looking at the calendar ahead. And really the big news is going to probably be the Treasury refunding announcement coming out Wednesday morning. Yes, the Federal Reserve is meeting on Wednesday, but it's pretty much baked in the cake what they're going to do, which is nothing. Now the refunding.
Hold it right there. You get it with a lot of analysts, a lot of intel coming together. The Federal Reserve, what they're likely going to do in terms of Wednesday after their meeting is make no decision on in terms of raising interest rates. And in continuation of that type of prediction that we do have earnings from Apple that'll be coming up and is set forth this week. Now, why this is important is because they are the biggest company in the S&P 500, which we saw climb about 1.2%. And in terms of the yellow global markets here, the Dow Jones and the Nasdaq also up about over 1%, which is great to see, especially with the S&P 500 that was just entering this correction phase. And like I said, and what we've been seeing is that the policymakers are likely going to stick with this higher for a longer stance and hold interest rates steady for the decision, like I said, on Wednesday. But what we see at Palantir Technology is earnings. Remember, that's going to be happening Thursday, November 2nd pre-market. However, Palantir Technologies is still in this correction zone and is trying to find a support level as the bears have really taken over in terms of selling. And we've had a new report that has given a new fair value for Palantir by Morningstar, which is a highly reputable type of analyst predictions and outlook and media outlook that does give fair value to many stocks. So before we get too far, hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos. And of course, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm collecting the data and dispatching it all to you guys. So if we pop it up on the screen here, let's get Palantir and talk about what we do have going on, because we're going to have a lot of volatility likely happening here over the next week. And where Palantir has decided to fall and sit on is basically at 1469, down about another 2%, 2.5% exactly, with the trading volume at about 46 million. Now, what's different from Palantir and what we're seeing is it's breaking the pattern compared to the last few days before the last quarter earnings, where we saw support that was basically formed right at that 16s. That is not the case here. Palantir is trading differently after we recently hit that basically resistance point at that 1844 with this cup and handle that was formed here, and then we saw a fail in terms of holding that. And at the buyback point, we see the bears taking over, and we see a larger correction at 1464. Now, we're going to be talking about some reports that did come out that could possibly be attributed to this correction that we are seeing. However, what we do need to focus on is Palantir is now in this consolidation zone right here. And quickly, just drawing two quick trend lines, looking at the top point of this at 1636 and looking at the bottom point, which is more attentive and more important at this point in time for where Palantir is trending right now, is at about this 1368. So Palantir has had many consecutive sections now in the red, and we're seeing a fall in here. Now, the point is, where is the reversal point, and will earnings have an effect on that? That's a large question. And in terms if you are in a buy position, a sell position, or a hold position, could drastically change on how you're looking at Palantir right now. If you're sitting at the sidelines waiting to buy Palantir, watching it come down in price necessarily isn't a bad thing. Even if you're holding, that could also not be a bad thing, because likely Palantir could have a run up here. We're going to be looking at some metrics on where Palantir could be going in the next 3 years. Or if you're looking at Palantir and you're looking to possibly buy, likely sitting on the sidelines isn't a bad idea, because we have a lot of volatility coming up for Palantir. And like I said, earnings November 2nd pre-market, we got earnings per share at about 6 cents with 5 earnings per share revisions in the next, or that's happened the last 90 days. Now, what to watch for in Q3 earnings? That's really important. We're going to be looking at billings, customer additions, net retention, and target revisions, and longer term guidance is going to be really important. And why we say that is because with lots of earnings reports reports that we have seen, talking even about Tesla that greatly missed their earnings, even companies that have beat or have been in line with their earnings have still been experiencing a large correction, as we've seen across the stock market. Looking in terms of longer guidance on AI and for Palantir, I think it's going to have a lot of eyeballs on it personally. But however, customer additions and net retention is going to be really important because of this word that we've talked about with Palantir a lot. That's the AIP, which is their artificial intelligence platform. And if you go to the website right here, this is a software that they've released in the last 6 months that you can use their AIP bootcamp for possible clients to test it out, and they claim that they can give you a 0 to a use case in 5 days. Now, going back to that, we're trying to capture the customer growth in the billings from this AIP platform. Because it's so new within the last 6 months, this has not been captured in any of the previous earnings reports for Palantir. So this will be especially important. Lots of eyeballs will be looking at this and looking at this continued in billings acceleration. Customer additions are also going to be really important. Like I said, with this AIP, capturing those customers additions from those AIP clients that are purchasing these products, and also net retention, seeing that people are not just using Palantir's other software products such as Gotham, Foundry, Apollo. AIP is a separate product that you can also purchase. So seeing a actually net retention expansion and a longer term guidance that looks bullish, I think is going to be really important for Palantir, rather than just meeting these expectations that the banks and Wall Street has set it at 6 cents earnings per share and 556 revenue. We want to see this continued kind of compounded annual growth revenue for Palantir as it starts to get into more of a mature type of atmosphere and possible inclusion with the S&P 500. Remember, as it will hit possibly that fourth quarter of GAAP profitability. So yes, the numbers could look good. However, we could still see a continued correction because, like I said, even though we've seen a lot of percentage decline in terms of valuation, that's not necessarily a horrible thing for Palantir. And leading into that, and that's because Morningstar does give a fair value estimate for Palantir at $11 per share, which puts it at a multiple of 10 times and gets more of that multiple that does seem to be a little more understandable. And if we look at that $11 fair value estimate, and that could likely or possibly be a reason why we're seeing this continuing the correction, is looking in terms, where will Palantir benefit in the next few years and where will it be in the next 3 years? What we do have to understand is that generative AI is a large opportunity and is bringing lots of new clients to the table. And what we've seen with Palantir is that it's already proving to be a game changer for the company, as more than 100 organizations have already embraced it. And Palantir has even said that an additional 300 organizations are showing interest. And as we've seen that, and one of the fundamentals of a business are the customers at the table. And Palantir is improving its profitability. We've seen them become profitable. This is kind of rare to see for kind of AI dedicated companies, and especially with some of the other speculative companies that we're looking at right now. And looking at customer count, is that they are continuing to produce a robust customer count. And even in the second quarter, we saw an impressive 38% year over year growth to 421 customers. So if the management has said that they're seeing over 300 organizations that are showing interest, we should hopefully see this robust customer growth continue to grow. And talking about the valuations, like I said, Morningstar rates it at a fair value estimate at $11, which puts it at that 10 times multiple. Where it sits right now is at 16.1, which is far more expensive than the actual software industry that Palantir falls in, which is 2.1. However, looking at the broader picture and looking just into the niche of AI and Palantir specifically, the company went public, remember, in 2020, and the average price to sales multiple is 18.6 and the median is 16.2. So interesting numbers right there, that it's actually right under its median price to sales multiple. And with the projections for future revenue metrics is at 4.5 billion in fiscal year of 2026, which is almost twice its fiscal year of 2023 anticipation of 2.2 billion. So assuming that the long-term price to sale multiple remains mostly unchanged, like it has basically where it's sitting at right now at 16.1 compared to that median of 16.2, then this stock, if the revenue continues to increase and you have that price to sales multiple that holds consistent like it has, then you could have the stock possibly even doubling over the next 3 years. And this could be a potentially long-term reward for investors as they are committed to returning value back to their own stock. Remember, because last quarter they talked about approving that $1 billion buyback plan. Now, we haven't heard a lot of future details about what's been going on with that buyback plan. However, what we are seeing is they are believing in their company, considering that they're willing to take that amount of capital, considering they have a lot of free cash flow on hand with low debt, and putting it back into the shareholders and buying into the stock. So looking at Palantir, lots of exciting things that are happening. We're seeing options with lots of volatility here. Especially what we have seen is a large put sweep bearish trade that has expirations at about November 10th here with strike prices of 14. And we even have a call trade bullish that is sitting at next year, January 19th, 24, with a strike price of 14. So lots of options volatility right now around the $14 strike price, which is even more exciting because we're sitting right now getting closer to that $14 strike price. So what we do have, I think, is important to realize is what I'll be doing for Palantir. A lot of people are always wondering, hey, what do you think? What do you think? I'm probably going to be sitting on the sidelines right now, seeing what's happening in Palantir, waiting for that reversal and seeing if it's going to test this 1368 support. And with revenues coming up, what's going to be happening at that? Because future guidance, I think, is going to be one of the most, if not the important thing to look at ahead of just what the actual earnings does report. So let me know down in the comments, what do you guys think? Let's start a discussion. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you guys later and peace out.